Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see, today I have a very special guest on the show. I have Ayo Oluwole, popularly known as Sugarr. He is my riding instructor. Some of you may know I ride super bikes as well. So this is one of the passions I have, and I'm here to have a very quick conversation with my riding instructor, who is also, an astute businessman. The founder of Sugarr House, which is a very big photography house here in Lagos, Nigeria as well. So we're going to be having, a very long conversation. Some of you, when you see me on the road, maybe those of you who know me personally, and you see me on a bike, you're interested in, you ride, because I've been in Anambra and I see people who want to take pictures, who want to collect my phone number, and they never call me, so it's basically like, riding also takes you to a celebrity status, quote unquote, among non-riders. So we're going to have a conversation around that today, and also have big conversations around things that border on riding and also interacting with other road users as well. So that's, what we're going to be having. And if you sit around long enough, you're going to be getting, tips on how to sustain a business over a long stretch of time, because he has been in this for a very long time. Of course, we're going to get into that conversation. He has been in this for a very long time, and being able to sustain a learning business, an academy business over a long stretch of time is something that deserves a lot of accolades. And we're going to be diving deep in all of those conversations today. So, Ayo, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chikado.
It's good to see you. It's good to finally have this conversation. Because, your schedule has been so tight. We've had a conversation about. I was around yesterday. We couldn't have the show, but I know you're very tired. But thanks for.
We just finished classes, so we just had to squeeze this in.
We had to squeeze. Today is a Monday, so you can imagine having to have private classes all through the week, and then you also have classes on Saturday and Sunday. It's a whole lot. So thank you for having this.
Thank you for having me.
And so I want us to get to the beginning of Safe Rider, and what brought this. How was this born? All of this. How was this born? Because this has gotten so big. How was this born?
So Safe Rider didn't start as Safe Rider. It was always Safe Rider, but it didn't start as Safe Rider. It was initially it was Stalwart.
Oh, Stalwart.
Stalwart Motorcycle School. That was born out of funny enough, I'd always wanted to teach people, because right from uni I've been riding since '99.
Wow, that's 25. That's 26 years now.
26 years.
Wow.
So people have always wanted to learn how to ride, but the thing was always, how I'm not an instructor. I'm just a rider. How do I just teach you? So let's just say, moving forward, I gained experience riding. Finished uni, started to work. I was running my business. I had a magazine business in uni.
Wow.
So I started to work. I was still riding, and I ran into an old friend from uni days that told me, I want to start to teach. I was like, what? I've been having this thought as well. It's something I always wanted to do, and it was like, that he's been talking to them at the stadium, National Stadium, Sugarr. It's something that he's already trying to put into place. And I was like, okay, when are we starting? It was like, this weekend. And I was like, okay. He didn't believe it, because he didn't really think it was something I wanted to do. And Saturday morning I was there, and we started. There was three of us instructors, and we had just one student, and we borrowed a motorcycle from Oyinbo.
Wow.
For those old school people who know Stone was the one that rented us his bike. We didn't even pay for it.
Wow.
We were renting it. So we rent it Saturday, Sunday, return it, get it back on the weekend. So there was always
that was
that.
a bike for the students.
Yes.
That was bike. Okay.
Yes. So somewhere along the line, we just had maybe a couple of students, and we couldn't even pay for the bike.
Wow.
Stone got frustrated, and he was like, what? I need to take my bike. They're damaging my bike.
And you guys that's exactly why I asked.
Exactly. I know.
The students always damage.
Yeah. So, he was like, I need my bike. You guys are damaging my bike. You've not paid for my bike. So he came and took the bike. So we didn't have a bike.
Wow.
So it was one of the students that decided, what? Let me pay for a bike, and you guys can pay me back
Yeah.
when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how we started. And then, you know, all the students used to use one bike. They'll come, so they take turns. Not like today.
Yeah, everybody just comes. I like that one.
Oh,
I don't
like this
one.
bike.
Let me
so
use
there
that
was
one.
just one bike. You didn't have a choice. You know, you just had to take one bike and use. So, you know, from there we kind of like the situation we have today, where people are like, oh, we should have a club. We should have a club.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we lean towards having a club. And somewhere along the line, Liga was like, we can't have a club with the same name as a school.
As a school, yeah.
Right? That there'll be some legal implications, that it would mean that the club owns the school or whatnot. Mm-hmm. You know, so we had to change the name. So we changed to Pro Wheels Motorcycle School.
Okay, Pro Wheels Motorcycle.
Yeah,
So we went from Stalwart now to
Pro Wheels Motorcycle School.
Okay.
You know, so that's why when you do your registration, your ID card and all,
mm-hmm.
there are people that will say they are from Stalwart. There are people that will say they're from from Stalwart. Everybody is a safe rider today, but you know, when they came in, their batch was Stalwart. Some people, their batches were, most of the Bad Gang members are from the Pro Wheels.
From the Pro Wheels, wow.
The Pro Wheels days, you know. So so we had the Pro Wheels, and come 2020.
Wow. Okay. That was COVID.
COVID. You know,
how did you get through COVID? Because I know there was sort of a
COVID. What happened? In fact, COVID was a tremendous time for us at the school, because the stadium got closed.
Oh wow.
My partner relocated. And then I had to even change the name of the school, because, you know, for legal purposes, once again, I had to change the name of the school. And I just went, you know, I just said, you know what, let's go for what I'm all about.
What this represents. Like, you know, the name should represent the
Safe Rider. That's it. It's nothing more. That's all I'm about. Mm-hmm. You know, Pro Wheels, you might feel, oh, I'm a pro. I'm trying to show people that I'm a pro on the road. Rider, No. All that concerns me is safe riding. I don't need to show me any skills on the street. Mm-hmm. I don't need to show me that you can do certain stunts and all of that. All I need you to do is be safe, you know. So I went for a straight up name, you know, what I was all about. And so you were asking about COVID. Mm-hmm. So COVID, stadium got shut.
Wow.
Naturally, because, you know, stadium was a big basin for COVID to spread.
Yeah, actually, because you have different people.
You know, it's a sports arena, so you have so many people coming into the stadium. So COVID, stadium was shut, and I had to think on my toes, because what happened was I started getting a lot of calls. COVID.
People who wanted to learn.
They wanted to learn.
Yes.
It was an opportunity. They were like, you know, I've always wanted to do this. COVID is here. Mm-hmm. Only God knows. COVID is showing us that you can die anytime. That was one school of thought.
Yeah.
Now, there was also people saying, this is the only time I will have time again. Mm-hmm. You understand? Because I'm always at work. I don't have the time. Weekends, I want to rest. This is an opportunity once again. But, you know, at the back of their head, it was always like, you know what? COVID has shown us that go out and do what you want to do. You know, everybody's chasing life. Everybody is
it's trying to give everybody an opportunity to
to retrospect.
Retrospect.
You know, retrospect, look inwards and be like, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. Let me do it. You know, I could get COVID and I could die. You know, let me do something that I'm passionate about. So let me do something that I've always wanted to do. You know, so a lot of people, we got a lot of calls during COVID, but then once again, Safe Rider, mm-hmm. Safety had to be first. Yeah. You know, I couldn't take them in bulk. I had to take them in batches. You know, I had to have them, you know, have all the face masks. Mm-hmm. You know, we couldn't share protective gear. Everybody had to buy protective gear then. You know, you had to have your own. You know, we couldn't have too many people in a space. All of that. We had to follow all the rules and regulations that the government gave for COVID. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, safety first. So that was it. That's how, you know, Safe Rider started. You know, and it's been a wonderful journey since then.
Yeah, you know, one thing I had a conversation with someone. I think there was a time we had a gathering somewhere, and we were having a conversation. Someone was asking me about, oh, is this where you learn? So that was yesterday at the stadium. So he was asking me, he said, all these riders here, are you from this school? Like, is this your school? I said, almost every single rider you see here came from this place. And he was like, okay, why are you this? I said, no, me, I'm 2023. So then one thing that now struck me was, when you look at all the riders that have come from you, like, does it give you a form of, a sense of fulfillment? How is it for you seeing, your outputs within the community?
I mean, of course it does. It does. There's definitely that sense of fulfillment. There's sense of purpose.
Yeah.
You don't want to go through life and not serve the purpose. Making money is good.
Yeah.
Definitely. Making money is good. But you know how they say, how do they say? They say you don't want to be so rich that all you have is money.
All you have is money, yeah.
You understand? You don't want to be that person that is just rich and that all you have is money.
Or maybe they say someone is so poor, the only thing he has is money. It goes both ways.
Yes, you want to go through life knowing that you're impacted in many ways. In everything I do, even from the photography, you put smiles on people's faces, you help them create memories, and biking is like, so I wanted to be a doctor.
Wow.
I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to save lives. I wanted to, I don't like to see people in pain, so I like to help. I mean, even in the biking space, there's an accident. I'm the one
you tend to always be the first responder.
I try to, because I know that a lot of times things happen to people, not because a biking accident is always fatal, but people are confused. People don't know what to do when they see their friend on the floor. You understand? And that could be the difference between life and death. The person could just be choking from his helmet. From his helmet strap. It's just he fell awkwardly, but you've seen him on the floor and you're panicking because there's a feeling when you see, that shock, that panic.
At that point, you're not thinking.
You're not thinking straight. So you see your friend on the floor and you're just like, in your head, he's still very much alive. He's still good, but you're seeing him. He looks like he's not moving, and you just think the worst.
Yeah.
But that's not what you should do as a biker. You should immediately spring into action and check for his vitals. If you need to call someone, call someone. Helmet, take off the helmet. Make sure talk to him. Make sure he's breathing. All that good stuff. So that is me naturally. That is who I am naturally. So I didn't get medicine. I studied botany. So for me, riding is teaching people to ride safely is another means of saving lives.
Absolutely.
And in fact, it's preventive.
Rather than get into the worst.
Yes, you understand. So, if I was a doctor, I would be saving lives after the damage is done. Has happened, You understand. So this time, I'm in preventive medicine.
So you're a preventive doctor.
Yes, I'm a preventive doctor. So if we want to put it that way, so that is how that's what spurred. And that's teaching for me.
Yeah, that's also a sense of purpose for you. And recently we've seen this surge, among people every year people who want to learn how to ride.
Yes.
Myself, for every single time I go out with a bike, there is always someone, bros, how far? If you teach me.
Yes.
Where I feel learn. There's always this interest, and biking has sort of gained, a lot of traction, in recent times. And one thing that, that I want you to, that I would want you to address is because for every single time, like myself, I have a trading academy, and there's this misconception of people who are coming to Forex or who want to learn how to trade. They believe that within a short space of time, they can do X, Y, and Z. So what are some of the myths that you see that you would want to, bust for people, like, because there are some riding myths that a non-rider would have, so what are some of those myths that you look at, like, you that are coming to ride in Omo, No, be so it be, and what's, and I mean, you've seen a lot of
Yes.
people who
Okay.
come to it,
So first things first. Something must have inspired your writing, right? It could be a movie. It could be a magazine cover. You know, in everything we do in life, something inspires it. Maybe something we've seen. It's something that's been embedded in our heads. Maybe as a kid, maybe as an adult. You know, it's how you see yourself. You know, you see yourself as that movie star. You know, you see yourself as Tom Cruise in that movie.
Yeah, the guys,
You see yourself as that model on that magazine cover.
with a bike, yeah.
You know, from a music video. You know, so you see yourself in that light, and you're like, you know what? I want to portray. I want to push for this look. You know, I like bike. Everybody likes biking.
Yeah.
Everybody likes bikes. Let me put it that way.
Everybody does.
Likes bikes. You know, I've taken bikes to the furthest part of Nigeria, the north, and all of that. You see people covered up. You know, people that you think maybe they've never seen bikes before and they are not interested in bikes. You can see their eyes light up. You see a woman covered up, you know, a religious woman covered up, you know, in her hijab. Only her eyes are showing. But you know how when someone smiles, even the eyes show
The
it.
eyes will tell, right?
You know, you see them, you know, their eyes will beam with joy just because they're seeing a bike come through. You know, so we're human beings first. Everybody loves bikes. That grandmother, that mother, that sister that is afraid of bikes, is afraid of what could happen to someone on a bike.
Yeah.
They love bikes.
They're not afraid of the bike. They're afraid of the, you know, what could
the
happen.
repercussions of not riding safe.
Safe, yeah.
You understand? But they love. There's no one that can tell me they see a bike and they're like, oh, that doesn't look nice. You know, nobody can tell me that. You see the Tom Cruise, you see the Keanu Reeves, and you know they inspire you, and you feel like
Charlie Boy too.
Exactly. You see Charlie Boy as well, and you know, you only later realize that when you come into biking, these guys, or when you come to the riding school, you get to learn that these guys were never in danger. It's packaged information. Magazine cover, movie, it's packaged information.
Yeah.
For even the people who do the stunts, it's a controlled environment.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, if they make a mistake, there's someone right there. You understand? On the contrary, for you, you're always exposed. You know, I say something at the school. I say we're playing developed country games in a third world country.
Third world country, yeah.
You know, something happens to you. What's the response time? These are things you need to think about before you get on the bike.
On the bike, yeah.
You know, when you start riding, these are things you need to remember, that emergency services isn't going to get to you as fast. So you need to think about how you ride. You can't ride carelessly.
At all.
You know? So basically what I'm saying is the myths are, oh, you know, I get on a bike, I wear
full gear.
A jacket, I wear a cool looking jacket. You've not checked that is C.
Yeah, the certification
ratings are there.
Yeah.
You get a helmet. You get a helmet that is open jaw.
Open jaw now.
You know, you say you're riding a cruiser, but you don't dress for the bike. You don't have a look. It's for a movie or a magazine cover that you dress a certain way because it goes with the bike. When you start to ride, you ride for the tarmac. Because when you do fall, you fall on the tarmac. The floor doesn't know that
you're riding a cruiser.
Oh, he's riding a cruiser. I'm gonna protect his jaw. You know, I'm not gonna hurt his jaw because his jaw is not protected. I'm only gonna make sure
just
is where the part of his helmet that is covered that I'm going to touch. The road doesn't know that. So you need to dress for the tarmac. We dress for the fall. You know, so those are myths. Another thing is, you know, I'm a natural and I can handle any bike once you finish riding. Yes, you can handle any bike. But what you need to understand is that the best rider starts small. All the best riders out there started small. In fact, if you don't start small, you've robbed yourself
of very crucial skills, of building good skills.
Yeah, of of the chance to build certain skills, you've robbed yourself. In fact, you've robbed yourself of some experience. Because whether you like it or not, you never rode a small bike. So you know nothing about riding a small bike.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
You can ride a big bike and you are now suppressing the big bike, because you can tell from your riding school to the big bike, you can tell that the power is a lot.
It's a
So
lot.
you're going to respect that big bike. Now, someone riding a smaller bike comes and goes past you, does, you know, certain things that you can't do with that big bike, because you are right now, you are respecting that big bike because you know it's so powerful.
And you can't really express yourself.
You can't express yourself
you can't.
because you need to be careful. You feel the throttle. You know that this bike is giving me so much power. These things they have warned me about, I need to watch out for it. Now, you've robbed yourself of actual riding.
Yes, that's true.
Someone else riding a smaller bike that he's comfortable on is moving swiftly past you. And you're there thinking...
You're overthinking the ride.
You know, because you're like, let me just maintain. Let me just maintain because I know what I'm riding. Mm-hmm. My bike is more powerful than his, but I can't ride it the way he's riding. You know, maybe you get on a straight, then you show off. You get to a bend, and you have to slow down drastically. And the same guy that you overtook comes and takes that bend in a second, and you know, once again, you're there struggling because you're riding a bike that is too powerful for you. So you may think, oh, I just started riding, but I'm a big guy. How can I be on a 250?
On a 250,
the bike, the tarmac doesn't know that you're a big guy. That big bike will slam you on the tarmac the same way it will slam someone else. You understand?
And that's one thing that's exactly why you're coming to the school in the first place.
Exactly.
To avoid. Okay. Now, I think now this question I want to ask is now this is something that I have seen from teaching trading, right?
Yes.
I've seen that students have a hard time following instructions when it comes to, you know, let's say for instance, I'm telling a student, don't put $1,000 in your account at first try if you're going to trade it yourself. Put in 100, right? And they find it difficult following, you know, instructions to that degree. So I mean, for someone like yourself, how often do you see these situations of students struggling with following instructions, right? And maybe they leave the academy and then, you know, they are now hearing things from outside sources, you know, contrary to what you would have instructed. So how often do you see that? And, you know, do you have any ways of dealing with it, or you just, you know, let everybody, you know, deal with it?
So I always safeguard them from the beginning. You know, I tell them things like, you know, before you take instructions from anyone or advice from anyone, first things first, ask how long they've been riding.
Yeah.
You know, at the school, I try to teach people to think. I don't just say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. I try to educate them on how to think safety, mold their minds into how, moving forward, they can think safety, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the first thing you're going to ask someone who is advising you is, how long have you been riding? And, oh, you're giving me all this advice. You've not even asked me why I want to ride. Maybe I don't need that big bike. I want to do things that don't require a big bike. So why you have advising? Why are you telling me I'll get bored riding that big bike? Makes no sense. I'm fine riding this small bike because this is where I'm going. This is all I need to do.
Commuting.
Yeah. So why do you want me to ride a big bike? What's in it for me? You understand? Then the other thing is, I have this saying, that courage you have to get any bike or to ride any bike should be fear that has done its homework, done its research, and said its prayer. Your courage should not be baseless. You know, you can come to the riding school and say, okay, I want to ride. You know, why haven't you learned to ride a long time ago? I was afraid and all of that, and now I have the courage to ride. That courage should be fueled by the school.
Yeah, you should have the courage from, you know, having gained the experience you're supposed to gain.
Exactly. The teachings and the learnings from the school. So that is what courage should be. It should be fear that has done its homework and said its prayers. It shouldn't just be It's like a soldier going to war
You've not trained.
without training.
Yeah.
And you're going and you're going into war, and you have the opponents holding bazookas, and you're just coming into war like that. You're saying you're courageous, but you can't stand it.
No, you can't.
You can't stand that battle.
Firepower. You know.
You can't stand. You're no match for the battle because you are not prepared for the battle. So your courage should be fear. Like I said, that has done its homework.
Yeah.
You are coming with ammunition. The knowledge you're coming with is the ammunition. You know, that's your arsenal. Yeah. So you're coming to ride. You should know what you need to know about riding, about safety, about defensive riding, about situational awareness, about safety gear. You know, what gear to wear, what gear to buy. Don't think about fashion. You know, don't think, oh, this is what Tom Cruise wore in that movie, so that's what I'm going to wear. No, you're going to think, I'm on the road. What do I need to watch out for?
In Nigeria.
You know, what do I need to watch out for in Nigeria? If I fall, what protects me? You know, a new biking brand brings out some new shoes. You look at the shoes. They tell you, oh, it's riding shoes because they're a riding brand. But it's not adding up.
Yeah, it's
not adding up. It's not adding up. It's not a long boot. I mean, they're called riding boots. Riding boots are kind of like the same with riding boots in horse riding. There's no short horse riding boots.
Wow.
You understand? You wear riding boots that come all the way because certain parts of your legs need to be protected. So when you start telling me you're wearing trainers, but they're riding trainers,
there's no such thing as a riding trainer.
There's no riding trainers.
It's a riding boot.
They're riding boots. They're not riding shoes. They're riding boots. You wear riding boots because you are riding. It's a metallic horse.
Yeah, okay, yes, exactly. So
you get what I'm saying?
There's a boot for the other horse.
There's boots. So you need to always think about these things. So no manufacturer, nobody can bamboozle you telling you that, oh, these are riding. You know, there's the same leather. There's the same armor there. It doesn't cover. The physics doesn't add up. It doesn't cover my shin, so it doesn't protect me fully. Why would I not want to be protected fully? Why do you think that normally you wear long boots, and just because I'm going to work today and I'm commuting today, I'm wearing short boots because when I'm going to have an accident, I know that when I commute, my shin is never going to be affected.
There's no way to tell. I mean, the reason there's no way. The reson it's an accident is, I mean, it's an accident because you can't predict it. You can't predict.
You can't predict.
You know, it's off the.
So you need to be protected all the time.
All the time. Yeah, and I mean, I think we've spoken extensively, about a lot of things. And in just a minute, I want us to, talk about the how do I describe it now? The other parties that we have on the road, and that is the ones we call. I mean, okay, maybe it's on a video. I won't call them that name. But the car users, the guys in the car.
Cages. Say it. So for those that don't know, people that drive cars.
Yeah, we call them
cages. Bikers, we call them cages.
Because you guys are in a cage. I mean, we are the ultimate ones enjoying freedom on the road. So if you want freedom, you get on two wheels.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in recent times, I think we were having...
No, you were asking the other people.
Yeah. Yes. So, interacting with other road users, right?
Yes.
Interacting with other road users. And that takes me to what I was about to say, that we're having a conversation in our group chat. It was this morning. I think it was this morning we were having that conversation.
Okay.
Someone complained of how, a cager, just swerved and almost took him out and all that. And, someone said, that these guys, they're after us, they're trying to buy us, that kind of thing. Like, they set out every day and, they hate bikers, they don't want to see bikers. And someone else said that he does not believe that any cager deliberately wants to harm any biker.
Correct.
I think that was Panda that was saying that. He said, I do not believe that any cager necessarily wants to harm, a biker. And it's just the interactions of the road and all those things. But what I want to get from you is, how do we? What I'm trying to get to is not how do we stay safe. Staying safe is the thing, but what awareness do we need to push to the cages that you're not just on this road alone? I mean, if you're driving, you're going to factor in, if you want to come out, you look at, oh, is there a trailer? Oh, is there another bus? Is there a bus? Is there another car? At what point are we going to tell them that you need to look out and see if there's also a bike? You know, so I think that's what I'm trying to get.
So because I'm an instructor and I run a school, my priority is my people, the bikers.
Yeah,
you know, we're a small demographic out there, right?
Yeah, very
and
small.
In fact, the presence of the cagers and other road users, pedestrians, you know, okadas and kekes, is the reason the roads are unsafe. Now, I say it all the time as well, that, you know, the reason why aviation is very safe is because of due care. There's a lot of due care involved in aviation. You know, it's the same pilot that will come and drive and probably use his phone when he's driving. You know, that could almost hit another car or even a biker when he's driving, but he wouldn't make certain mistakes while he's flying because of due care. There's a lot of parameters involved in staying safe in an airplane.
In an airplane, yeah.
You know, and these are the things that we lack
on the roads.
Motor vehicles, on the roads generally, motor vehicles and on bikes. You know, due care, because it's one person in charge of his safety and literally the safety of others. Because if you make a mistake on your bike, you can harm others as well. You know, same way if a motorist makes a mistake in a car, they could harm others. The biker, you know, you're using the phone, you know. So there's a lot of due care that that isn't in you know, on the roads. So the truth is, I prefer, because like I said, we're a smaller demographic, I prefer to talk to the people I have control over. You understand?
Yeah.
Because you need the government involved. Even though I agree with, you know, doing campaigns, you know, to sensitize motorists, but the truth is, I'm a realist, right? And I try to understand why people do certain things. First things first, I would say I agree with Panda when he said they're not out to kill you. A lot of people just have a lot on their mind. You know, they're distracted. You know, people are doing so much. Then, of course, there's also a lot of distractions on the road or in our lives, not on the roads, in our lives. You know, a lot of WhatsApp groups, you know, a lot of Instagram that people tend to, these are because when I talk about due care, you see, the car was safe up until when we started adding things like cup holders, cigarette lighters,
Android screens, radio sets and all of that. That's when the vehicles started becoming unsafe, because people started off driving, focusing on the road. Now there's so much comfort, luxury in vehicles that people are doing other things. You understand? You have your air conditioner.
You have your air conditioner. You know, someone can sleep off. So you get what I'm saying.
Now have
so
massage,
all these things are things that contribute. So the truth is that manufacturers, the government aren't really pushing on that. And in as much as there's more than one way to skin a goat, you understand? I'm down with that. I would rather always focus on the people I have control over and teach them how to be safe around all of this. Because the truth is, from experience, you can sensitize all you want.
Yeah.
You can sensitize all you want. If there are not going to be any repercussions from the government, if the government isn't hacking down on this
phone usage and all
phone usage, you know, drinking in a car, you know, all of that stuff that harms other road users, we'll be wasting our time. In a country like ours, we'll be wasting our time.
And of course,
You're not going to be able to talk to a Korokwe rider, driver, a Keke rider, a bus driver to watch out. You know why? Because where his recklessness is stemming from is the hustle.
yeah,
That's the reality.
yeah, and he's trying to.
He's
push,
not trying
push
to hurt
through
you.
Everything, yeah.
He's not trying to hurt you. He doesn't mean to
And
kill
the
you.
downfall guys
Doesn't
as
mean
well.
to cut you off. He's on the hustle. You know, he's come out already. Area boys have taxed him. He wants to go and make money. He's not going to look at his side mirror to watch out if Chikwado is riding by.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
No,
He's
very
not going to do that. That's the reality. Let's not fool ourselves. That's the reality. He's never ever going to do that. Even if his relation gets hit by a bus like him off a bike, trust me, once he's in that mood, once he's in the hustle mode, his mind is on the hustle. Same thing with a driver. He's expecting some, you know, we know the country we're in. We know what people are going through. Maybe he's trying to jackpot. You know, he's been waiting for a text message, been waiting for an email. He's been waiting and he hears his phone ring. He's not going to say, oh, let me first check that
You know, and so
I'm clear before I pick my phone.
He's going to just
clear
go
off
straight, he's going
before I pick. He's going to pick it up because he's anxious. These are the realities.
And these are just some examples, and there are a million other things that could cause
someone
the driver to be anxious on the steering.
What you need to do as a safe rider is to learn to give space for these things. You can't ride like everyone else is going to be watching out for you.
Yeah.
You have to ride like the society you're in. That is why sometimes it's a bit tough for people who come from other parts of the world to Nigeria, because there are things that they would never expect. You understand? But in Nigeria, if you ride in Nigeria long enough, you know certain things. You know that these people are on their phones. You know people are gisting in the cars.
Yeah.
You know the young ones are, you know, exhibiting youthful exuberance. You know that downfall.
You're going to run into a convoy.
First things first, you're seeing a downfall. He doesn't have a side mirror, so that tells you already that
he has no
doesn't
plans.
even have what it takes to watch out for you. So why would you go beside him thinking that he should watch out for you?
I mean,
You see a pothole, bad roads in front of a car, and you are going by that car like, oh, you should be able to see me.
He's going to avoid the pothole first.
His reflex is always going to be avoid
the pothole.
The pothole.
And then look out.
Then remember that, oh my God, there's someone beside me. They don't mean to harm you. That's the truth. They actually don't mean to harm you. They're just not thinking that far. Because being in a cage doesn't require you thinking that far. The most that will happen, you get a fender bender and you are good. But the truth is, as a biker, you don't have...
You are the fender.
You don't have that luxury of not realizing that you're always going to get the shorter end of the stick. You're always going to get the shorter end of the stick. If you don't pay attention, you'll get the shorter end of the stick. If you are paying attention and you're arrogant about it, you want to warn someone instead of protecting yourself, you're going to get the shorter end of the stick.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of videos on the internet where you see a biker, maybe he tries to kick a car and then his bike loses control, and that leads to a crash on its own. You know,
on a bike, all you need to do is focus on getting home. Yeah, someone does something wrong to you, just push it aside, get home. The best rider is a rider sleeping at home. Every day you get on that bike, you're a learner. That is how you stay safe. Every accident is your fault. That's what you should think. Because when an accident almost happens or does happen, what you should be asking yourself isn't who was correct. What you should be asking yourself is, how do I foresee that next time? How do I avoid this next time? How am I not in that space next time? Not who is correct. Who is correct is legal terms. Legal doesn't mean you're alive. People might be fighting your battles for you,
and you're not here.
But you're not here. Do you want to be here? You want to be here. So take responsibility of every scenario. someone makes an illegal U-turn, stick it in your head. People can make illegal U-turns here. Tomorrow, I'm not going to be in that same spot where an illegal U-turn can hurt me.
You know, I think for me, one of the things I always do is if I'm approaching an intersection, or maybe I'm approaching a road that has an exit, I always assume that a vehicle is going to come out and it's going to jump. I mean, when I was driving here, something happened around the Antonio. So I was, heading down, and then this guy comes in from the other lane. He was driving a Hilux, comes in from, there's the BRT lane, and then there's the other lane. So he comes out from the other lane, goes through the BRT lane, doesn't stay on the right, and comes straight to the left. And that's where I was. And I just looked at this thing, and I just laughed within my head. And I said, when I saw him coming, I anticipated that he was going to do that, and I slowed down. And I was in the car. So now imagine being on a bike, and you are raging and saying, "This idiot, why do you have to do that?" He has done it. He has done it.
You move on,
and you just move to the
if you can. What I always advise is, if there's a way you can educate, why not? Like I said, there's more than one way to skin a cow.
Yeah.
If you can pack him and educate him without,
confrontation,
being confrontational.
Yeah.
Fantastic. People listen.
Yeah, some will listen. And
people listen. People listen to that. Everybody. So basically, what you need to understand about human beings is that everyone wants to feel good. When you harass someone, they feel threatened.
And
that's why it seems like they're out to kill you, because they're being defensive. They want to not be talked down on. But if you can talk to them like a regular human being, some of them will listen. You understand? They just feel like, oh, this guy I did this. He didn't come out. He's wearing all this gear. He looks like Superman, but he spoke to me
so politely.
They appreciate it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you come aggressive, you may intimidate them.
Yeah, and then
you may not have, passed your message.
Yeah, that's
you may
true.
just have intimidated them.
Now,
if he's aggressive, he will refuse to be intimidated. Then
that's where confrontation
starts. Now, you're not passing, because what you must understand about confrontation and violence is that it's a weakness.
And it doesn't pass the message. Yeah.
You win the fight does not mean you've taught a lesson. Yeah, you've not passed the message. In fact, whoever wins the fight is the stronger person. It's not the person who is correct. So you may win the fight, but you are wrong. In fact, who told you you can beat the guy? You are the biker, you get beaten, and you are correct, but you lost the fight. So he won.
Yeah, he won.
Psychologically, he won.
Yeah.
Now, no message was passed, because he's just going to say, another biker will come and I'll show him. You understand? You haven't passed any message. So always try to pass a message, in a civil manner, so that they respect bikers. So they're like, oh, these guys, this is how they behave.
Yeah.
Not that, it's a fight thing.
They're gonna take off the side mirror.
No, none of that. None of that. Because the truth is that when you do that, it changes from being a traffic offense to assault.
Yeah.
Legally, it's not a traffic offense anymore.
Yeah.
If you physically, intentionally do something, to someone's car, it's no longer a road infringement or accident.
It's a full-blown assault.
Now assault. You deliberately did that.
I think we've seen instances where, on social media, maybe where something like that happens, and then maybe the guy driving the car is a person of bad temper. They just run over the rider and all that. But I think where I want to get to is, I want us to get to Shorterhouse.
Yes.
How have you been able to combine this? Because quite frankly, I understand how your schedule can get.
Yes.
Last week you had a whole 7-day stretch, Monday and Saturday, and then Saturday and Sunday, and then today you are right there in the stadium again. How do you manage Shorterhouse with all of this? And also, one more question.
Yes.
We have Safe Rider Academy. Are we going to have an academy in Shorterhouse where people can learn photography? So the reason I'm asking 2 in 1, because I don't want to forget the question. You know, this is all this is not scripted.
Correct.
So how do you manage this with Shorter House? And is there a Shorter House Academy somewhere, you know, down the line in the works?
Okay, so you know, first things first, Shorter House was before the school.
Woo!
Shorter House was before the school.
Okay.
So at some point, you know, Shorter House was funding the school.
Wow. Okay.
You know, for many years, how much did we used to charge? What, 15 or 25 or 20K?
That's not.
Yeah.
That's,
so the school was never about money.
yeah.
The school was never about money. It was a service. It was a way of giving back. I mean, I'd been writing for maybe at that time, maybe I'd been writing for about maybe 13 years or so. And, you know, no accidents, no nothing.
13 years, no accidents,
Yes.
no crashes,
No
all
crashes,
in one piece. That's very possible, guys.
no metal in my body, nothing.
Yeah.
So it was a give back, and it was a way, like I said, preventive medicine. You know, teach people that to know that they can do it as well. They don't need to crash. They can stay safe on the roads. You know, that was that then. So so pretty much Shorter House used to fund the school.
Wow.
You know, what I used to make from the school, I never used to touch it.
Wow.
I never used to touch it. Year in, year out, I never used to touch it. It was because it was nothing.
Yeah, it was nothing.
It was nothing. So, you know, I just used to keep it there just to know that, okay, I get something from the school, but, you know, it's not, I need to figure out how it's eventually going to be something. But that was not the main purpose
of it.
You know, it was about helping people ride, you know, helping people live in Nigeria. I mean, the less, the more people riding, the less depression there is out there.
You have no idea, trust me.
Like, you know, that's why we say at the school, more life on two wheels.
Yeah, more life
you know,
on two wheels.
Contrary to what people think, you know, where if you ride, it means you may shorten your life. So we're saying no, it's actually more life on two wheels.
On two wheels.
If you most likely live longer if you ride safe. If you ride a motorcycle and you ride safe, you will most likely live longer. Because if you look at the biking community, you see a lot of people riding and they begin to look younger.
Honestly, yeah.
Because
So
they're less depressed, they're less stressed out. You know, they're able to live an eventful life. I remember once when a wife called me to thank me because for the first time after her husband finished riding school and started riding, for the first time in their life, the husband got home when it was still bright.
wow.
Said for like 10 years, I've never seen my husband during the day on a weekday.
He's always
coming
stuck
back
in traffic,
you know,
work, and all that.
stuck in traffic, coming back around 9, 10, you know, and he used to work in Apapa.
Wow.
You know, so she initially was not too
You know, supportive.
supportive of riding. The wife, you know, messaged me or rather called me and was thankful that, you know, I get to see my husband now, that something good already has gone from
the riding
school, you know, and I get to see my husband. We're happier, you know, so more life on two wheels. That's the idea, you know. So going back to what you were asking,
You know, yeah, about Shorter House, yeah.
so Shorter House, you know, so Shorter House, I told you about COVID already. So COVID now, you know, the school evolved. The school evolved, you know, the school started to grow at a more
Sustainable pace.
You know, not like we're making that much money, but you know, it started being able to pay for itself.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, it started being able to pay for itself, and then, you know, it was now a thing whereby I had to start thinking about Shorter House. Like, okay, now it's taking more of my time. The school is taking more of my time because being the person that I am, once I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I can't disappoint the students, and that means that I'll have to disappoint some clients. So, you know, I now had to start taking less clients when it comes to photography. You know, it needed to match. It needed to go with my schedule, with my calendar. You know, so then again, you know, I took it. I make the best out of what I'm giving. You know, so with that, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to take certain clients.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
when
I'm
it
going to
comes to
up my
shorter-
price,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to take certain clients.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, you know, a lower end package, Shutter House is there. You can, you know, one of my photographers can take pictures for you. You know, a photographer also can rent my studio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I do rentals, I do equipment rental, I do studio space rental.
Oh wow.
You know, and then if you want AY Sugar to photograph you, then you have to pay the premium.
You have to pay the AY sugar fee.
Yeah, you got to pay the you got to pay the sugar premium.
You have to pay the sugar premium.
Yeah, so you know, so that's how I manage. That's how I, you know, manage that. And basically, you know, when you have clients that respect you and, you know, understand what you do, they also begin to, you know, normally, oh, this is what time, this is the day I want to shoot. Tell you, oh, I'm not free on this day. You know, normally, oh, we'll go to another photographer, but you know, I want to shoot with you, so I'll work around it. Let's come to a compromise. Oh, how about this day? Can you make this day work? You know, most times I teach in the morning, so the evenings, you know, I manage to put bookings later on in the evening.
Later on in the
You understand? And that is going into how I make it work as well. That is why, you know, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I hit the gym.
Oh.
I try to stay fit because I live a very active life.
Yeah.
You know, it could be very tiring, but you know, if you're fit and active,
You'll be able to
you
keep
can
up.
manage it.
Yeah, you can keep up.
You can manage it. You know, you don't want to wake up in the morning and you're just lazing around and you go up and do all that kind of work. You go to the school, you teach, you come back, you take pictures. You know, you'll be overwhelmed.
Yeah, you'll be overwhelmed.
Because you're not staying fit. You're not making time, because sometimes people mix up stress
With
and exercise.
exercise, yeah.
They're two different things.
They are not the same thing at
They're
all.
two different things. When you're working, your body recognizes it as stress.
As cortisol.
You
is
may
released and all that.
enjoy your work.
But it's
It
still
helps,
stress. Yeah.
but it's still stress. It's not fun. It's not going out to have fun. Your job may be fun, but it's not going out to have fun. If you work in an amusement park and where your job is fun, it is still work
They're still
for
working.
you. You are not there having fun alone. You are there working. You understand? So once you can wake up all the good energy in you for the morning, you can use it through the day. You understand? That is what keeps me, you know,
Wow.
majorly. That is what keeps me, you know, because I need to stay active. I need to be able to finish at the stadium and not break down. Because,
Yeah.
you know, as an instructor, as a teacher, as someone that understands, you know, systems as well, I understand that if you keep pushing your body, it will break down.
Yeah, it will break down. Yes, it went very well.
It will break down. You need rest. You need rest, but most importantly, you need that fitness. You need to be active so that you can do these things and it's not even stress to your body.
So I mean,
Yes.
I think you've had, speaking of rest, you've had you've had a crazy run this week. So I
Yes.
believe you have a rest day planned already.
Yes.
So
yes,
I think
yes.
one thing that I've, you know, thinking about it as, you know, a business person now, you spoke about how Shutter House funded the school.
Yes.
And so that would mean that for years you ran the school by itself at a loss, or basically at break even.
Yes, at break even.
At break even, and Shutter House, you know, was the reason why the school had a lifeline.
Yes.
And I think why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of, you know, business people, a lot of people who might be watching because I mean, when you're a writer, there are other aspects of your life as well. There's a business, there's this and that. So you might be having a challenge of, okay, you have this vision, but something somewhere has to keep the vision alive. Like
Correct.
myself, while learning to trade, you know, being a trader and while I was massively unprofitable as a trader, I was doing graphic design. I designed the Chipotle logo. I designed a whole bunch of things. I was
Correct.
designing logos for people.
Correct.
And, you know, I would market cars, you know, sell and have a
Yes.
markup and all that. So there is always something to keep, you
Your
know,
dream alive.
the dream alive. Yeah, there's always something to keep the dream alive while you wrestle
Yes.
with the main thing. And you
Yes.
just walk on the side, you're wrestling with it, you're walking on the side, you're wrestling, and
Correct.
eventually it all booms out. So I think for someone like you now, that, you know, you have, you know, once in a while, I get to see you once in a while.
Yes.
what do you think at the rate at which biking is growing? I do have a suspicion within me that very soon the government might begin to cast their eyes on us, beam the light on us, and say, who are these people? What are plenty? Maybe we should give them certain kind of license. Maybe we should, maybe we should regulate this a certain way. What ways do you think you would want? What would you like to see the government, bring into biking in terms of, is it regulation? Is it licensing? All of these things.
Well,
and where your institution can equally come in as well.
Okay, so this has always been my blueprint. You hear a lot about wanting to ban motorcycles. That's the Okadas, the commercial motorcycles, wanting to ban them. And the truth is that the problem is not the motorcycles, is who is riding the motorcycles.
Yeah.
So for me,
go-kart was banned.
Yes.
The way they took out go-kart. Instead of having all the personnel go through training,
precisely,
they just pushed out the entire brand.
So what we need is like the DMV, is like the supposed FRSC, because right now we basically don't have a motorcycle department. In Nigeria, we don't have a motorcycle department. You have the Okadas on the road, but there's nowhere they are supposed to go and learn. That's why they're out there in their thousands and their
I was almost
millions.
going to learn from a bike mechanic before I found
because there's nowhere that is the government approved to say, okay, go here and get learn to ride and get a license.
Yeah.
So and the truth is, if the government embraces a safe rider, we can start to rehabilitate the riders out there to be safer and to have data.
Yeah.
Because what they're lacking, when we talk about kidnappings, when we talk about robberies on motorcycles, which is one of the reasons they give for wanting to ban them,
it's lack of data.
It's lack of data.
You don't know who the riders are.
Who are they? So if they've gone through a school that has their information, even the dispatch riders, they go through the school, they're on the database. Now, when they commit an offense, you don't arrest the bike because you're arresting someone's business.
You go
because of someone's irresponsibility. A rider's irresponsibility. A rider who is not his problem. The rider should be the government or the community's problem, not the employer, because he's picking from what you gave him.
And of course, the government is going to tax that employer.
Do you understand? The employer, the dispatch company, is picking from what you produce.
What is available? Yeah.
If we have it's like medicine, the doctors are out there. You go to a bad doctor. Am I wrong to have gone to a bad doctor? The government is producing, the universities are producing these doctors. Those are the doctors that are available. That's where they take from. That's the only hospital I go to. You say, oh, don't go to that kind of hospital. Why does that kind of hospital exist?
It should not exist in
the first place.
Yeah.
You understand? So the point is, if we're able to rehabilitate and train all, we have a database. Even dispatch companies, when a dispatch rider defaults, the dispatch company penalizes the dispatch rider, or rather, the government penalizes the dispatch rider.
While the business
stands, and now it's from that same database, that potpourri of
information on riders,
of data of riders, that the dispatch company goes again to go and pick
a replacement
who is eligible.
Yeah.
Based on, you guys train this guy, this is where I'm taking from. I can't employ my friend's son. I can't employ my cousin to ride my bike. I need to go into the database that the government has produced. So now, if you stop a rider and the rider does not exist on the database, he's illegal.
So I think
so you're a potential criminal because you're not meant to be riding.
To operate outside, of
the confines of
the legality. We've had a very interesting time.
Yes, we have.
Having all this conversation is
finally.
Finally, we've had the conversation, and I hope you guys took a lot of value away from that. If you're a rider, you know, you plan to ride. This video is going to be on the internet, you know, until the end of time. It's going to be on the internet. And he has dropped massive gems here as well. As you know, if you're someone who is going to ride a motorbike, it is important for you to, the most important thing is you have to learn how to do this correctly. And you can see that whether we have 1,000 other participants on the road, whether it's trailers, trucks, cars, whatever that we have on the road, the most important component is you, the rider.
Correct.
And how you're able to keep yourself safe and get yourself home. That's really the most important component. And how you're able to do that is what we teach at Safe Rider Academy, Safe Rider NG as well. So the handle on Instagram is Safe Rider NG. Of course, you're going to find this on Instagram, and you're going to find bits and pieces of this as reels as well across the internet. So find Safe Rider on, I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, how the name is on YouTube, but
yeah, Safe Rider Motorcycle School.
Okay, so Safe Rider Motorcycle School, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram. Wherever you find Safe Rider, please connect with us. And wherever you find a biker as well, of course, most likely they're going
watch out for them.
Yeah, watch out as well.
Watch out for the biker.
Watch out for the biker.
We're going to watch out for you, but please watch out for us.
We need to watch out for us as well. That's why we have so many lights. I mean, the guys from South Africa were asking, why do you guys have so many lights on your bike, guys? So that they can see us, you know? So, I mean, and also the guys on the IS 250 and different bikes, please don't try to race us. We're not race professionals, you know? We're just riding around town and trying to get home.
Regular people.
Regular people just like you. So if you see me, don't say, na power bike, man, race am. I feel grab the bike. You know, that kind of, so many of the, we didn't even talk about, you know, the guys who see you and, you know, they're trying to race you like, let me see. I used to do that before I started riding. There was a day I was driving on the highway and then I saw this guy on a bike. And I went after him like, no, I need to, na power bike, I need to pass on. And then I noticed that the guy wasn't even trying to race me. Like, he was just on the end of the road. You know, so
these are the things you need to remember when you start to ride, that, you know, these things, you used to do these things. You were that guy in the car before. So don't think that now that you ride, everything changes and everybody's watching out for you. You need to watch out for people. That's the most important part.
And most importantly, watch out for yourself as well. So, I mean, it's been absolutely wonderful. So please like the video, share, subscribe, wherever you find this video, engage with us, and I'll be more than happy to see you on the next one. Cheers.